Welcome, guys, to How the Frack We Got Here, a show that takes the news and events of the week and try to make sense out of it all. I'm your host, the most Will Buchanan, and on this show, we simply are all about the facts. There are plenty of news stations out there that simply want to do anything short but inform you. Here at How the Frack We Got Here, that's all we believe in. We go up to the lefts, we go up to the rights, we go up to the middle and independents, we go after all sides because there's more than one side of a story to everything. And you need to know it all in order to actually formulate your own opinion. And that's what we try to do here at How the Frack We Got Here. Thanks for listening, and hold on. It's going to be fun.
The whole world is watching!
From coast to coast, nearly 7 million Americans, according to organizers at No Kings demonstration Saturday.
The rule of law is being destroyed.
Thousands of people demonstrating in Chicago for the No Kings rally. They're all motivated by different factors, but the common thread, their defiance against the Trump administration and its policies.
Me as an immigrant, I gotta show up, support.
First and Fourth Amendment rights being completely violated.
My grandchildren makes me sad.
No King!
No King!
Huge crowds turning out in Boston, Miami, Buffalo, and more.
I'm 90 years old, and I've never seen my country in this condition.
One of the largest protests spilling onto the National Mall in President Trump's backyard. A big concern there, the decimation of the federal workforce. Scientist Bill Nye.
Cutting the budget, especially to NASA, is thoughtless.
People also rallied overseas.
They're totally ignoring the Constitution.
Trump and his administration addressed the No Kings movement this week.
They're referring to me as a king. I'm not a king. Right.
Speaker of the House Mike Johnson slammed the demonstrations on Friday.
Listen to the language they use themselves. Many of them don't like living in America.
Saturday, we heard the opposite.
We love America!
Thousands of protesters sending a message to the president. No Kings here.
No King! No King! No King!
And here in Chicago and across the country, we heard and saw people chanting USA. Meanwhile, Chicago police say there were no arrests here in the city linked to those No Kings demonstrations. But across the country, at least 15 people were arrested when it comes to those No Kings rallies. Online, the White House is also weighing in, posting this image late last night of President Trump and Vice President JD Vance wearing a crown, I should say, with Democratic leaders wearing a sombrero with the caption, "We're built different. Have a good night, everyone." Now, these images capture some of the concerns, even though they are fake, but they capture some of the concerns fueling this No Kings movement. Willie?
Yeah, a lot can be said about this. But anyway, today's date, October 22nd, 2025. This is How the Frack We Got Here. I'm your host, most Will Buchanan. The Frack We Got Here. We do take the events of the week and try to make sense of it all. Before we get started, guys, let you know that we are a news podcast. We do pride ourselves on citing from the most reputable sources with award-winning journalism. We do not do sensational news like Fox News, The Blaze, Daily Beast. Wherever extreme left, extreme right you get your views from, we simply don't do that. We test the facts and go from there. At the same time, guys, we do try to watch our professionalism, but let's be honest, words fly. But we do try to get the profanity down to a minimum, if you will. At the same time, guys, there are things that might be shown that might be too intense for younger viewers, so viewer discretion is advised. Aside from that, welcome. So, yes, that was the No Kings protest. Over a possible estimated 7 million people attended. Very little arrest, no shootings. Imagine the same people on the right that sat there and said that No Kings protest was going to be violent, was going to be this, was going to be that, and outside of a few arrests, that was basically it. Yeah, basically that was it. At the same time, with that also being said, of course, the cult of taco is doing their best and hardest to downplay everything, especially with a certain AI video of Taco being in an F-16 or F-18, depending on the plane, and defecating on the people with the words King Trump on the side. Will not play that because honestly it's a waste of time. At the same time, I do not want to give that overgrown, overbloated over tanned ulcer with a wig the spotlight he deserves outside of what we already talked about. But Speaker of the House and probably closeted LGBTQ plus member Mike Johnson, I mean that in the most joking of sense, is basically playing defense on a number of things. Specifically, when was asked about that video, said video I mentioned, here's was his response, and I will give it to him. The man does very well when it comes to kissing the ass of the president he serves. Well, first we gotta find some audio first. All right, let's try that again.
To say that the president of the United States over the weekend released a video of him pooping on the American people.
The president uses social media to make a point. You can argue he's probably the most effective person who's ever used social media for that. He is using satire to make a point. He is not calling for the murder of his political opponents, and that's what these people are doing. I mean, they're in one of these photos. I think there's a picture of the president hanging in effigy by a noose on one of these. The one on the far end. I mean, it's unconscionable. Look, America is built on the idea of free speech. You have the right to protest. Of course, we jealously guard that. I mean, Chip and I are attorneys. We've defended that right in the courts. But what they're doing right now is different. They are trying to incite violence. It's not funny. You don't mock a president who has already had 2 failed assassination attempts on his life. This is not a game. And the idea that communists would be supporting this is unconscionable to us.
You say that the Democrats.
All I can sit there and say is, wow. Wow, wow, wow. You know, I thought Sarah Huckabee was good at shoveling BS. Mike Johnson is making a masterclass of it, people. He called it satire. Wait, so people protesting No Kings is violent, yet your president shares a video of him defecating all over the people and calling himself King Trump. It's satire. And then he tries to call them, well, they're communists, they're this, they're that. And at the same time, no, it's just, do you think it's right to make fun of presidents, that president that had 2 attempted assassinations? Yeah. Because, well, let's be honest, I mean, I could go into conspiracy theories, but I can tell you right now, one of them might have been a little fixed, but it's not that type of show. But yes, we'll make fun of Taco. We'll make fun of Taco every chance he gets. Every president has been made fun of. There's not a president out there in recorded history that was not made fun of, that had a joke at their expense. But I just love how Mike Johnson says, oh, well, they shelter Taco like he's this baby. I mean, he is a man-child, but they shelter him like this baby. And Mike Johnson, again, I said, boy, your lips must be permanently pressed to that man's overtanned ass. Has to be. Because you, either that or you took lessons from Fox News and said, oh, that's good. I'm going to use that. I'm going to use that. That's good. Let's use the word communist. Let's use the word Antifa. Let's use violent. And it's funny that he sat there and said all these things and no violence. Again, they had a few arrests, but that's circumstantial. They had a few arrests for protesters, but no reported damage. No buildings on fire. None of the things that they sat there and said were going to happen with this protest. Even though they had some people with MAGA hats trying to get responses out of folks, and they didn't get them. But they tried their hardest. Like, nothing is said when the savage shows up. No, they just respected your right to protest as they did theirs, because that's what a peaceful protest is. That you can sit there and say what you want, and you don't have to worry about getting jumped. Even though, again, just like we sat there and said these people in red hats were going to HBCUs, like some of them popped up at TSU here in Nashville and got walked out. They wanted footage. They wanted clickbait. The We Are Charlie Kirk crew wanted stuff for the clicks and their engagements. There was nothing debatable about them. But again, shout out to the fact that maybe, and I'm hoping, and again, I'm hoping this No Kings thing, this No Kings protest does lead to the midterms. as we said before on the show, the midterms are next year. The Republicans are panicking. They are, because you passed a bill that nobody wanted, and about if not by next week, the week after that, because the government's still shut down. We're in day 21 right now. Day 21 right now, the government being shut down. This is the longest shutdown in our nation's history. Happened under the same guy to where the other previous shutdown occurred under. But again, 21 days and counting that we've been under the shutdown. And again, Taco is pretty much not involved, disengaged, if you will. But when it comes to the spotlight, he's got to have attention. But we'll get into him momentarily because there's a whole lot of other stuff we got to get into. But anyway, on Monday, did anybody have problems with their internet? Well, there's a reason for that.
Amazon says it's making some progress to restore service after a massive global internet outage crippling websites and apps from around the world. The outage is involving Amazon's cloud computing company, AWS, starting early this morning, disrupting large swaths of the internet, which includes social media sites, streaming services, restaurants, airlines, gaming, and more. Amazon Web Service says that the problem is connected to its domain name system, which converts a web address into an IP address, and then it allows the websites and the apps to load online. Our ABC News tech reporter, Mike Dubusky, is here for more. Mike, thank you for being here with us. And what a day. Look, first of all, do we even know the actual extent of this outage yet? I think a lot of people find themselves surprised throughout the day as they try to take on some tasks and can't. Some things even like ordering lunch.
Yeah, exactly. And we're still trying to wrap our heads around the exact scale of this issue. Obviously, huge and very popular services impacted, everything from Delta Airlines and United Airlines to the McDonald's app and Venmo. You can imagine trying to send somebody some money and saying, it's like, no, I actually did, but actually it didn't go through because of this outage. Huge, millions of people affected from what we understand, and a very frustrating day for many. The good news, Kana, is that according to Amazon, things are starting to get better, that we are seeing some of these services start to come back online. Obviously, it's a very frustrating day for many, though, doubtless.
Well, what do we know about the cause, if anything? I mean, is this an Amazon-only issue? Is there bad actors involved here?
Yeah, so Amazon blames the initial outage on a domain name service. This is a technology that basically takes human language, what you or I would type into a web browser, whether it be facebook.com, abcnews.com, and translates that into something that a computer could understand, an IP address. It's a very important piece of technology. It undergirds a lot of the internet, and that's where the problems began this morning. Now, Amazon does say that they were able to basically patch that initial issue, but started to see some additional issues crop up throughout the day, kind of a domino effect. One thing goes wrong and it breaks a variety of other systems. And that is the nature of the problem right now. Unfortunately, this is becoming a relatively normal occurrence. AWS saw a similar outage in 2023 and in 2021. Of course, we remember last year CrowdStrike, the cybersecurity firm that saw a major outage. They shipped a faulty bit of code, essentially, that knocked millions of computers around the world offline. So while this is frustrating, it is unfortunately not unusual, Kana.
Is it amazing that what was not being said is that, well, AWS is Amazon's web service. Almost everybody uses it. There's only, if I'm correct, there's only two of them out there right now. Amazon's AWS web service and Microsoft's Azure. Azure. I almost said Azure. Sorry, French is coming out. Anyway, two web services, right? And depending on what side or what company or wherever you may be, they're the two biggest ones being used. Here's the problem. When you have a technology monopoly, this is bound to happen because everything runs on one or two web services, and that web service has an issue, then everything's affected. And yet, nobody's seen the problem with this. Nobody's seen that, we are really staring at a infraction point to where, so if you take down AWS or you take down Microsoft, you pretty much could compromise our literal IT area, if you will. Not the best way I can say it. Literally, our communications will be down. Communications, technology, forget commerce, forget internet, because everything else is running off AWS. You have hospitals running off AWS. You have traffic control systems running off AWS, air traffic control. If you really think about it, all these systems that do use internet services can be affected. If a single service, or like in case in AWS, if they just have a domain name service, as they claim, was the problem. And I'm just sitting there screaming to myself, how are we not trying to better off against this, considering the fact that cyber attacks happen all the time? We just hear about the big ones. But I digress, outside of the fact that the IT world needs to get it together. But speaking of things getting together, guys, we talked about one group of people whose text got released, and they decided that these young Republican leaders of the next generation were all watermelon-loving Hitler people that decided that we needed to bring back gas chambers. If you thought that was bad, here's another guy whose text just came out, which lets me wonder, Republicans, maybe you guys should just stop hopping in DMs, because every time you do, we find out how much racist y'all really are.
The Office of Special Counsel appears to be on thin ice, and that, quite honestly, may be a generous take. You now have the top Republican in the Senate, John Thune, saying this about Paul Ingrassia: he's not going to pass. It comes after Politico reported on racist text messages Ingrassia allegedly sent in a group chat with the Republican operatives. In one message, Ingrassia allegedly texted that the Martin Luther King Jr. holiday should be tossed into the seventh circle of hell where it belongs. In another, Ingrassia, in a back and forth, allegedly wrote, "I do have a Nazi streak in me from time to time. I will admit it." CNN's Annie Greer is on Capitol Hill for more. So you have this reporting, and you have what is in terms of the response from lawmakers on Capitol Hill now.
Well, Leader Thune was very clear last night, Kate. He said that Ingrassia doesn't have the votes, and he hopes that the White House pulls this nomination. Ingrassia was expected to meet in front of the Senate Homeland Security Committee on Thursday, and at least one of the Republicans on that committee, Republican Senator Rick Scott, told me last night that he does not support Ingrassia. So that right there is enough Republican opposition to end this nomination, assuming that all Democrats also vote against him, which we are expecting him to do. So Trump nominated Ingrassia to lead the Office of Special Counsel, which oversees all federal whistleblowers and civil servant laws. But his nomination has been clouded with controversy. CNN has reported on his history of alleged racist comments, and as you mentioned, the Politico reporting has a lot of messages in there. I'm going to read you two more of them. In one alleged message, Ingrassia says, quote, "Never trust a Chinaman or Indian, never," end quote. And in another text, Ingrassia writes, quote, "Blacks behave that way because that's their natural state. You can't change them." He then added, according to the chat, quote, "Proof, all of Africa is a shithole and will always be that way," end quote. Now, Ingrassia and his team are pushing back firmly on the latest Politico reporting. In a statement, his attorney says, quote, "In this age of AI, authentication of allegedly leaked messages, which could be outright falsehoods, doctored or manipulated, or lacking critical context, is extremely difficult. We do not concede the authenticity of any of these purported messages." So it is now in the hands of the White House, Kate, what they are going to do here. But Leader Thune was clear in his message. It's very rare for Republicans on Capitol Hill to push back on one of Trump's nominees, but we are seeing that here. Some Republican senators are expected at the White House later today, so we are going to be tracking closely if the president makes any statements or the White House makes any changes to Ingrassia's nomination.
Yeah, this is a space to watch today for sure. When John Thune says isn't going to pass, John Thune should know and does know what he's talking about when it comes to this. It's good to see you, Annie. Thank you very much.
With us now, CNN senior political commentator David Urban and Democratic strategist Megan Hayes. I just want to read a few more of the text that Daniel Littman reported on here, because what we said there only scratches the surface. In January of 2024, Littman reports that Ingrassia allegedly wrote of former Republican presidential candidate Vivek Ramaswamy, "Never trust a Chinaman or Indian, never." And then discussing why Republicans feel Democrats make black people into victims, the text show Ingrassia remarked, "Blacks behave that way because that's their natural state. You can't change them." Another one, according to Politico, "Proof all of Africa is a shithole and will always be that way." I'll read a statement from Ingrassia's attorney in just a moment. But first, David, to you, based on this reporting, why hasn't Ingrassia's nomination been pulled yet?
Yeah, John, I suspect that it will be today at some point. You know, interestingly, the president is having Republican senators to the White House to thank them for helping him get his nominees through so quickly, and obviously this will be a topic of discussion. I would suspect that he'd have his nomination, or be told to have his nomination withdrawn, or have it withdrawn himself before that event occurs or right afterwards. Look, John, there's clearly no justification for having this individual out there. I mean, it is, you know, he's claiming, and his attorneys are claiming, well, it's AI. We're not owning up to this. You know, that's convenient to do, but it's just despicable. It's insane that somebody who's vying for a position of trust and integrity within the government would be so callous and just insane about these very sensitive topics. You know, guy should be gone. Plus, I do believe that, you know, Senator Thune is right. There are three, what I recall is three Republican members of the committee on the committee saying they'll vote against him. So he's not going to make it out of the committee to even begin with. So he's dead man walking at this point. Quicker they turn the page on this, the better for the White House.
Let me read the statement David was talking about from the attorney from Paul Ingrassia. In this age of AI, authentication of allegedly leaked messages, which could be outright falsehoods, doctored and manipulated, or lacking critical context, is extremely difficult. We do not concede the authenticity of any of these purported messages. What issues do these texts raise for you, Megan?
I mean, just sort of like what David said, he's not qualified to be serving in a government position. They're disgusting and gross. And I think that we're learning through this administration, when people show you who they are, we should believe them. And I would imagine that the White House withdraws its nomination rather quickly, as David pointed out.
And Megan, you've worked in a White House. I'm just curious how it got this far, right? Administrations for nominations vet candidates here. And yes, Daniel Lippman is a terrific reporter, and there's some great reporting here, but this doesn't seem that deep under the surface.
No, absolutely not. But sometimes private chats don't come out in a vet. I think sometimes people have a cross to bear with somebody and they leak these chats to the media. It gets more play if it's leaked to the media than they find it in a vet. Clearly, this goes past what they want to happen in a nomination hearing. They don't want this person to work in the administration at all because he is dead man walking, as David suggested. So I just think that there is a lot more internal politics at play here with some folks who go up for a nomination. But when these texts are disgusting, and people should believe that this is who he is, and it shouldn't go any further.
And it really shouldn't. It really shouldn't. I mean, this guy, for all those that need a reminder, he said that MLK was the 1960s George Floyd, and his holiday should be ended and tossed into the seventh circle of hell where it belongs. And this man was supposedly the Office of Special Counsel, was supposed to be nominated to lead the Office of Special Counsel, who believes the MLK holiday should be ended. Or the fact that he says, I do have a Nazi streak in me from time to time. I will admit it. Who admits that? Or never trust a Chinaman or an Indian? Never. And then I could keep going on. But this is the one that gets me, where he says, I said we're making Kwanzaa illegal in the next Trump administration. That was the gist of my tweet. No Mulian holidays, from Kwanzaa to MLK Day to Black History Month to Juneteenth. Every single one needs to be eviscerated. Oh, and just in case people think I'm making this up, it's right there. Right on Political's website. He sat there and said, no Mulian. Now, if nobody knows what that is, let me explain what that is. Number one, that's a racial slur that was used by Italians. And might still be used by some Italians, depending on how old they are. But that was their word for Black people. And it amazes me so that what we're looking at here, guys, is that this guy was to be set up to be brought in the Office of Special Counsel. Now, for a lot of people that are wondering, this man was, again, we just had a group of them last week all get called out. This man, who is, I guess his lawyer's fighting now because, we don't know if that was really his text messages. Okay, let's find out. Because again, with the GOP and text message these days, y'all guys either love telling yourselves or somebody sees it as an opportunity to get rid of y'all. But either way, we're glad. I'm glad, I should say, because you're saying exactly what you want to say, and now you need to own up to it. It's called accountability. At the same time, yes, you need to weed out the Nazis, because if you have a Nazi streak in you from time to time, don't run for office. We really don't need you, as we're trying to weed out the ones we've already gotten. But speaking of things that are weird, ladies and gentlemen, I never thought in my 2025 bingo card that George Santos would have gotten pardoned by Taco, but it happened.
Disgraced Republican George Santos is taking a victory lap after President Trump commuted his 7-year sentence for identity theft and wire fraud.
I'm not paying too much attention to the curl clutching of the outrage of my critics and of the people predominantly on the left who are going to go out there and try to make a big deal out of something like this.
Santos, who was convicted last year, speaking out for the first time since leaving prison, slamming critics who opposed his release.
I'm pretty confident if President Trump had pardoned Jesus Christ off the cross, he would have had critics.
Fellow Republicans rallying behind Santos, defending Trump's decision, and dismissing claims that Santos was only released because he was a vocal Trump supporter.
We believe in redemption. This is a personal belief of mine, and I hope Mr. Santos makes the most of his second chance.
Santos was originally meant to serve another 6.5 years. The president's commutation not only got him out of prison, but also out of paying any remaining fines, including the $374,000 he was convicted of stealing. Santos now says he has a new mission. The former congressman saying he has no plans to run for office again, but wants to focus on reforming the prison system.
Well, Santos is also back on the Cameo app, recording videos at $300 per appearance.
So let's talk about this for a second. George Santos. For all those that don't remember, this was the guy that was elected as a Republican to the House of Representatives. But for all those that don't remember, let me very quickly remind you. He created a phony charity organization to where he swindled thousands of dollars to use as his personal piggy bank. He stole from veterans, which were giving that, we thought the funds that he was getting for veterans, he was usually for himself. He stole from veterans. Not to mention, this man lied about where he went to school. Everybody remember that one? Oh, I went to so-and-so. They had no record of you. And again, this man finessed his way. Almost finessed it. He was elected. He was elected. He won, and he didn't get to serve just because, the House of Ethics came back and sat there and said, oh, hell no, none of this doesn't seem right. And you lied, and you embezzled. Yes, your ass deserves to go to jail. And what does Taco do? Pardon him. For what reason? Because, he was basically Taco's biggest cheerleader. And you again have Mike Johnson trying to come in and thinks he's making complete sense. Well, there's such a thing as second chances and forgiveness. This man stole from veterans, women, and children, and financed his own lifestyle. But supposedly, he deserves a second chance. What the? You know what? I'm not as surprised about GOP. GOP always does this. If it's not faith, if it's not family, if it's not guns, they'll switch them up. So now we're playing the religion card. Oh, well, everybody deserves second chances and being able to redeem themselves. No. When you have shown that you will use any and all means to finance yourself and finance your lifestyle, then you know what? You are the wrong person to be in an area of influence like Congress. But then again, that probably explains half the GOP and mostly 90% of the Senate. But I digress. But speaking of the Senate and the House, like I said before, we're day 21 into the shutdown. And, things are about to get a little tight.
Day 21 of the federal government shutdown, and already food banks across the country are bracing for an influx of need. Social safety net programs like SNAP are set to run out of money by the end of the month.
If those SNAP dollars get cut in half, that would mean that a local food center, food bank would have to quadruple their output just to meet that need.
Those same food banks not just preparing for people missing benefits, but also full-time federal workers who are on the verge of missing a second paycheck. Many of those workers still on the job at airports across America, leading to flight delays from air traffic controllers and TSA officers calling in sick. Federal workers at airports aren't the only ones not being paid. And this week, the Senate is planning to attempt to alleviate some of that pressure by passing a bill that would at least get paychecks for those federal workers who are still required to work.
It has become clear that Democrats' previous concerns had more to do with politics than with principle.
But Democrats continue to hold their ground, arguing any bill passed must consider health care reforms.
The ACA premium crisis is not a fix-it-later issue, like Republicans keep pretending it is. It's a fix-it-now issue.
Cancer survivor Kenny Capps gets his health insurance through the Affordable Care Act. If the subsidies lapse, he may be forced to go without coverage.
That could be twice what my mortgage payment is, which means that I'm going to have to start making decisions about what I pay.
Meanwhile, the shutdown continues and is on pace to break records. If it extends for more than 2 weeks, it will become the longest shutdown of all time. Some on Capitol Hill are bracing for that possibility.
We are shorthanded already with air traffic controllers, with TSA agents, keeping the airports safe and our flights safe. We cannot afford this nonsense.
Open enrollment for many Americans begins on November 1st, which means that Congress is running out of time to impact the cost of premiums in the new year. At this point, that deadline is not forcing the two sides to get into a room and solve this problem. Craig?
All right. So, yeah, let's talk about that for a second. 21 days into the shutdown, but I'd like to remind people about something. Republicans hold majority in the Senate. Republicans hold majority in the House. Republicans own the executive branch. Republicans have a left-leaning Supreme Court. Republicans have pushed through major legislation through reconciliation, which means they did so without Democratic support. That's the reason why we saw cutbacks. We saw cutbacks in Roe versus Wade. We saw cutbacks in affirmative action, and we eventually are going to see cutbacks in the big beautiful bill, because guess what? That actually will affect those on benefits and SNAP, Medicare, and Medicaid. You know, the same red states that are the biggest recipients of those things are now about to feel it. But with Republicans having a majority of everything, how is the Democrats' fault? I'm just saying, because it's amazing that, again, thanks to Elon Musk, who again got elected to a position that no one voted for him and no one confirmed for him to be in, him and his Doge actually led to the elimination of several one would consider essential government jobs, including air traffic controllers. And it never ceased to amaze me that why is it that in the midst of a shutdown, do representatives and senators still get paid? Everybody else, nah. Federal contractors, government workers, you guys still don't get paid. But yet you're so essential, you still have to show up for work and basically just work for free. Oh, well, you'll get it back in back pay. But the bills can't work off back pay. Your rent or mortgage can't work off back pay. Your car payment can't work off back pay. If you have kids, your daycare and things of that nature, in your insurance cannot work off back pay. It can't work off a promise. But representatives and senators, they still get paid because they get paid out of the Treasury thanks to the Constitution. And I've always had a problem with that, because if you are still being taken care of while all your constituents are not, I don't see how that basically lights a fire under your ass to get everything up and back and running. Oh, but Republicans, Democrats won't play ball. Democrats sat there and said, we will listen, but healthcare is not up for on the cutting room floor, which goes to show you that, again, Republicans have always had this Paul Ryan thing about Medicare and Medicaid. They want to gut it. They want to take those funds and use them elsewhere, probably to finance their buddies or through kickbacks of themselves. But it amazes me how Republicans claim, well, we don't have enough air traffic controllers. Well, stay the fucking DC. Stay the fucking DC and do your fucking job. Pardon my French. That's all it would take, because, you know, for all their talk of waiting on Democrats, they haven't worked They haven't not, for people who are still getting paid, they didn't even work the essential time of their session. But yet you blame the Democrats. But I'll give it to the Democrats because I've sat there and said on this podcast, Democrats need to show backbone. Democrats need to put a line in the sand and say, we're not crossing. So far, it seems to have done that. They will not budge on healthcare. They will not budge on that issue. They will not talk unless that's actually being included. I will give the Democrats credit. The one time you guys are standing in union, and yet it unfortunately is at the expense of taxpayers. But it's the one time Democrats have shown, oh no, we're not gonna talk so you can open up the government so you can kick the can down the road and nothing is done. Oh no, we're not doing that. And I give them credit for it. I really do. I hope they stand firm 10 toes down, and somebody's got to blink. But like I said, 21 days in, Republicans hold all the cards, but you're blaming the one group of people that have a one in a possible. Right. Meanwhile, Taco is basically, touting off the newest sections of the White House, like pretty much he's on those home renovation shows on HGTV that everybody loved to watch. But anyway, here's some bragging.
Morning demolition day at the White House. Crews tearing down walls as construction for President Trump's 90,000 square foot ballroom ramps up. The president once promised the project would not interfere with the current structure of the White House.
It won't interfere with the current building. It'll be near it, but not touching it, and pays total respect to the existing building, which I'm the biggest fan of. It's my favorite.
But bulldozers ripped away portions of the East Wing yesterday. The president hosting an event inside the White House, acknowledging the nearby demolition.
Right on the other side, you have a lot of construction going on, which you might hear periodically.
Constructed in 1902, the East Wing houses the office of the First Lady, as well as the visitor's entrance where the public can begin tours of the executive mansion. Expected to cost $250 million, the ballroom will be larger than the White House residence itself and able to hold nearly 1,000 people. President Trump insisting it's entirely funded through private donations. The president claiming, without providing any evidence, that he's paying for some of it himself. But Democrats are slamming the ballroom's construction amid a 3-week government shutdown and calling for President Trump to stop.
He should stop the wreckage of the White House, creating this Marie Antoinette ballroom for the billionaires and the CEOs and for all of his friends.
So the East Wing has been renovated before. A second story was added in 1942, but you heard it there. Many Democrats very critical of the way this is being done, and public tours here at the White House have been suspended indefinitely, George.
So Taco has decided, I want the grandest ballroom. You're gonna love it. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be huge. It's gonna be beautiful. It's gonna have plenty of gold. That's exactly what the fuck he wants. And again, a 90,000 square foot ballroom that, hey, our kids can't get free lunch at school, but apparently, Taco wants a grand ballroom. How very dictatorship of him. Dictatorish, I guess is the word to go with. But yeah, at the same time, oh, well, I'll be paying a bit of the cost. Bull and shit. It will be the taxpayers. But I find it also interesting because the next story, because of that, makes me wonder the unmitigated gall that this president really does have, and yet thinks he's winning. But no, he's steady more grifting. Why? Because the title of this next one, and pretty much is what leading to the title of this podcast, is I should have put down Taco wants reparations, because that's what it sounds like. But here's the story.
Times is reporting this afternoon that President Trump is moving to demand that the Justice Department financially compensate him for the various federal investigations into him. What exactly does he want? Nearly $250 million, $230 million to be exact. The Times is reporting that the president filed complaints related to the investigation into possible connections between his 2016 campaign and Russia, as well as the 2022 case around classified documents, where the president reportedly alleges the FBI violated his privacy by searching his Mar-a-Lago property. Let's get off the sidelines, head into the arena. My panel is going to be here to weigh in, but I want to start with one of the New York Times reporters that's a byline on this breaking story. New York Times White House correspondent Tyler Pager joins us now on the phone. He's traveling with the vice president at the moment. Tyler, can you walk us through the reporting you and your colleague Devlin Barrett are laying out here?
Yeah, Casey, thanks for having me. And it is quite a remarkable situation here, right? The president submitted complaints through an administrative claim process, and these date back to prior to before he was elected president for a second term, and they relate to two separate investigations by the law enforcement agencies, as you said. The first one in connection to the investigation into Russian election tampering in the 2016 campaign, and the second one related to the FBI search of Mar-a-Lago as it looked for classified documents. And so, you know, what is remarkable about the situation is the people who are adjudicating these cases are Trump's former campaign lawyers who are now installed in top positions at the Department of Justice.
Tyler, I want to read the statement that CNN just got in. This is from President Trump's personal legal team, so outside the White House. They tell us this, quote, President Trump continues to fight back against all Democrat-led witch hunts, including the Russia hoax and the unconstitutional and un-American weaponization of our justice system by crooked Joe Biden and his handlers. Can you walk us through what you've heard from the president, from the White House, from outside advisors, et cetera?
Yeah, I mean, the president himself referred to this very process when he was in the Oval Office last week with Kash Patel, the FBI director, Pam Bondi, the attorney general, and her deputy, Todd Blanche. And he said he was sort of suing himself. And he brought up this sort of remarkable situation in which his Department of Justice is in charge of deciding how much money, taxpayer dollars, he's going to receive. Our sources tell us that he's not yet received that money, but they are hoping and expecting him to do so. So the president is aware of the situation. He mentioned it in the Oval Office, made this oblique reference to this very process and even commented on the sort of remarkable dynamic at play here.
So, Tyler, in this set of complaints, does the president single out anyone by name that he thinks did him wrong?
I mean, part of it looks at, he puts the blame right at the top, which is the Attorney General under Biden, Merrick Garland, and also Christopher Wray, the FBI director, and Jack Smith, the special counsel who was investigating Trump. So all of this is, this, Casey, fits into the broader rhetoric and actions we've seen from the president before he was elected and through his current administration. It is targeting the very same people he has long railed against, which are top law enforcement officials under the Biden administration. And
so we'll cut it off right there because, again, he's basically going through the details. But yeah, the sum and parts of it all. This overgrown, bloated, overtanned ulcer with a wig known as Taco has sat there and said, I want $230 million for pain and suffering for past investigations led by Merrick Garland and his Department of Justice. Here's I'm sorry, but first off, if Taco wants cash now, your ass better call JG Wentworth. We all know the tune. At the same time, guys, first time I heard this, I'm like, wait a second, does he want reparations? This has got to be the first time in a long time a white guy believes that he's entitled for reparations for his pain and suffering. And yet an entire ethnic group looks at him with just, really? You were prosecuted? Okay. You were. Right. But yet, here's the crazy part. The same people that were his attorneys that were fighting these cases before he was president are now in the Department of Justice. They now, and as stupid and as crazy as it sounds, they may possibly give him what he wants. They're in that position to make those decisions. But guess what? If, and I do mean a very big if, that happens, We as the American tax people will be footing that bill. The same guy who's grifting his MAGA cult, the same guy who swears up and down that he's just, I'm working for free. No, you are not. You definitely are not. The same guy who's out of the goodness out of his heart trying to make America great again is now whining and crying that the DOJ, they weaponized DOJ against him, and because he feels like he's not done anything wrong, that he should be compensated. Go have a effing cookie. Because I'm sorry. Let's recap. Because last time I checked, you were found guilty of mortgage fraud. You were found guilty of, you settled, let's be honest, you settled a sexual assault case that you tried to repeal. You dodged a jail sending election interference case in Georgia because you went after the DA, who was waiting at the time to basically take your ass in court. At the same time, you buried Jack Smith's investigation of you holding documents in Mar-a-Lago when you were back to being a private citizen. You buried that case the moment you became president. And again, I hate that. That's always bugged me. That even if you're president, you are not absolved of things that you've done beforehand. Those cases still move forward. If we really do believe in the fact that nobody's above the law, not even the president, then the president right now should be held accountable for previous things brought against him before he was sworn back in office. But yet Taco, he pushed, he pulled, his privilege got him through. And when he became president, these things can go away. We must hold the president to be infallible. He cannot do no wrong. And I effing hate that. Because even now, even though we joke that Taco wants restitution, wants reparations, the very messed up part, it could possibly happen. And that alone would be the greatest robbery. Because in my mind, he might as well go up to Fort Knox, start picking out gold bars at this rate. If you're going to rob the country, you might have to do it properly. But moving right along, guys, I wanted to cover this part as well because the Supreme Court's hearing a lot of things, mainly every case that Taco wants. But this one is new because apparently they want to see if you smoke weed, should you be able to own firearms? Yeah, weed's the problem.
The Supreme Court says it will consider whether people who regularly smoke marijuana can legally own guns. The case involves a Texas man charged with a felony because he allegedly had a gun in his home and acknowledged being a regular marijuana user. The appeals court dismissed the charge, saying the law barring illegal drug users from having guns could only be applied to individuals presently impaired. Now, the Justice Department says the appeals court got it wrong. Let's bring in ABC News legal contributor and Hofstra Law professor James Sample for more on this. Hi, James. So this is the same statute used to prosecute Hunter Biden. How does its use in that case compare to this one?
Good to be with you, Diane. That is correct. And before Hunter Biden was pardoned by his father, he was facing sentencing under this very same statute. And the statute, in very ambiguous and broad terms, which is going to be one of the focal points at oral argument in the Supreme Court for sure, is 18 U.S.C. Section 922. And it says simply that individuals are prohibited from possessing firearms if they are unlawful users of controlled substances. Now, the district court in this case did not convict Mr. Hamani of the charge because it said that, as you noted, and the Fifth Circuit then affirmed the district court holding, that it is unconstitutional to apply that law to somebody who is merely an occasional or past user of a controlled substance, as opposed to applying that law to somebody who would be in possession of a firearm while actively being influenced or under the influence of an illegal substance. So the question in this case is going to be a line drawing exercise as between whether it is constitutional only to prohibit possession while someone is actively under the influence of drugs or narcotics, or whether their status as an occasional or past user of those particular products can bar them prospectively from possessing firearms.
So again, we can do a lot of things, ladies and gentlemen. Can make you feel great, can balance your moods, can help with hunger, dieting issues, things of that nature. Unfortunately, for a lot of people that really do not believe, for maybe on the controversial side of this, weed is not effing empowering. Now, again, I'm not a weed smoker. I'm not knocking those that do, whether you smoke it, whether you vape it, whether you eat it. I'm not knocking you for it. In fact, I'm a very big advocate because marijuana, outside of other dangerous narcotic forming drugs, have had relentless studies in showing improvements for comfort of life, for people dealing with chronic ailments, things of that nature. The weed plant has helped out miraculously. At the same time, it's been a cash cow for multiple cities and states, which are still raking in more money than those that basically have made marijuana illegal. That being said, also, Jesus Christ, ABC, could you not show enough guns when you're talking about people being on weed should not deserve guns? At the same time, weed is not effing empowering. It's not. It more than likely, depending on who you ask, most people don't move unless you gotta move. Most people don't move while on weed. Most people on weed just mellow out, do nothing, chill out, relax, maybe have a drink, maybe cook, maybe eat. But they certainly do not operate firearms. And I would be hard pressed to find a case of someone being high and deciding, you know what, this is the perfect time to pick up my 9mm and go shooting. The thing that I'm not understanding is why in the Supreme Court is this, of all the things to look at with gun violence, why is this the problem? Why is this being the one that's being looked at? When we have sat there and said multiple times on this podcast, why isn't mental health being studied? Why is access to firearms not being studied? Why is it that red flag laws are not being instituted everywhere? Why is the fact that we don't have a national database for registry of guns? Things of these nature could actually help us in the regulation and tracking of firearms. Yet the only thing that actually made the Supreme Court was the fact that a guy was high. I don't understand it. I don't understand it. I really don't. Because now we're going to look at the fact of, well, can they really use a statute against him because they use on Hunter Biden? Hunter Biden was supposedly on stronger substances, supposedly. But it just amazed me so that this is what we come to. The fact that we have domestic violence abusers, the fact that we have disturbed individuals that might need mental health assistance, the fact that people can use certain loopholes to get firearms they shouldn't have because of them being a felony and being a felon, things of that nature. It's amazing how all those things are not being looked at. But yet apparently weed and firearms seems to skyrocket to the top of the Supreme Court's list. Make it make sense. Speaking of things to make it make sense, Mike Johnson, I know we talked about him quite a lot on this podcast because apparently he's a popular fellow that can't help but look like a concerned parent that just found a dirty magazine under his son's bed and just wants to talk to him about it while holding the Bible in one hand. He just had that look on his face. Is dodging questions about the most newly elected Democratic representative for the House, but he won't open the floor. And again, here's giving his father's knows best impression of doubting bullshit.
Oh, my goodness. Okay, yes. So yet another Democrat politician from Arizona is trying to get national publicity. So now it's the state AG who's going to sue me because Grijalva is not yet sworn in. Let me go through this again for you. And I have some updates. First of all, I'm following the Pelosi precedent. I was on some of the Sunday shows and was asked about this because this is all they have to talk about right now. When Julia Letlow was elected under very similar circumstances to fill the seat of her deceased husband, who passed away tragically by COVID, Nancy Pelosi, Speaker Pelosi at the time, took 25 days to administer the oath of office to her. It wasn't just Julia. The Pelosi precedent extends even further because when Pat Ryan and Joe Sempolinski were elected, during an August recess, they waited 21 days to administer the oath to those to Rep-elects because they were not in session. We are not in legislative session. The chronology is important. Rep. Grijalva won her race in, I think it was the last week of September, after we had already gone out of session. So I will administer the oath to her, I hope on the first day we come back, legislative session. I'm willing and anxious to do that. In the meantime, instead of doing TikTok videos, she should be serving her constituents. She could be taking their calls. She can be directing them, trying to help them through the crisis that the Democrats have created by shutting down the government. Oh, and by the way, I also did find out this little tidbit that should be interesting to you. When a rep-elect comes in on a special election in particular, it is up to the leaders of her party, his or her party in the House, to give them guidance and direction. One of the first things they do is reach out to what we do is reach out, majority leader, or reaches out to the rep-elect and says, hey, welcome, congratulations. Here's all the things you need to do. Here's the office of the chief administrative officer of the House, and they will help you get all of your computers set up and your passwords and all the rest. That call was apparently never made by Rep. Grijalva, and I don't know if the Democrat leader's office didn't inform her of that. But I found out this morning that the person who runs that office in the chief administrative office is on furlough because they voted to shut the government down. And so that person didn't reach out affirmatively, but now it's been sorted out, and I'm told they're going to her office today because she made a TikTok video saying that she couldn't use her computers. Well, she'll be able to use her computers now. Okay, she has 16 staffers. They need to be taking calls, and they need to be helping their constituents, just as Republicans are out in their districts right now, helping them navigate the chaos that is created by Democrats who are playing.
You know, it's always amazing. Like I said, he gives this father knows best bullshit. Like, oh, well, just so you know, well, she wasn't able to get what she needed because Democrats were helping her. At the same time, I am following the Pelosi president because the Democrats, when they did this, they waited 21 days to bring in their people. So I'm just following what was already said before me. And this is why I sit there and say I love journalism, because here's the thing. He did mention that he was on This Week in other news segments. And this is what I mean when I say journalists need to start checking politicians, because, well, watch this.
When are you going to swear in Representative-elect Adelita Grijalva?
As soon as we get back to legislative session, when Chuck Schumer allows us to turn the lights back on.
Why haven't you done it already?
Because this is the way the institution works. I'm following the Pelosi precedent, by the way, when my dear friend from Louisiana, Julia Letlow, was elected to fill the seat of her deceased husband because of COVID. Nancy Pelosi took 25 days to swear her in. By the way,
are you saying? Let me stop you. Are you saying that Nancy Pelosi refused to swear her in earlier?
No, I'm saying that's my very point. Is this is the normal
my
process.
understanding is that was the date that actually the representative-elect Letlow at the time requested. She had obviously her.
Okay, here's some more examples. Okay.
No, but wait a minute. You mentioned the Pelosi precedent, but Pelosi didn't delay that.
Let me give you more of the Pelosi precedent. Okay.
And what about the Johnson precedent? Because you swore in 2 Republicans the day after their election.
I'm happy to answer. Pelosi precedent. Pat Ryan, Joe Simplinsky. They were elected during an August recess. So 21 days later, when the House returned to regular legislative session, they were administered the oath. That's what we're doing. We're not in session right now. Rep. Grijalva was elected after the House was out of session. As soon as we return to legislative session, as soon as the Democrats decide to turn the lights back on so we can all get back here, I will administer the oath on the first day.
You could swear her in tomorrow, right?
No, not tomorrow. No, we couldn't. We wouldn't. There was an exception for 2 Floridians earlier in this Congress, but the reason was they were duly elected, they had a date set, they flew in all their friends and family, and the House went out of session.
So if she flies in friends and family, then
we don't have a date set. She was elected after.
Okay. Let me ask you about the president. When are you going to swear in Representative?
Oh, the level of dodging accountability. And this is why I say I like what that man did. Because what did he do? Oh, he didn't let up. You want to talk about Pelosi precedent? Let's talk about it. Because it's basically bullshit. It is basically bullshit. You guys have said you guys love using the government shutdown excuse because you guys can sit there and say, above all else, oh, well, until the Democrats reopen, we can't do anything. Yes, you can. You're the Speaker of the House. You literally could turn around and sit there and say, we're going to open the floor. You could. See, the thing what that walking douchebag is not saying is that he has the ability. As Speaker of the House, you have the ability to open the floor. And you can invite the Democrats, which the Democrats saying, we got no problem showing up. But healthcare is not on the effing table. It's not, no matter how you want to cut the mustard. And also, they tried to use the Pelosi precedent. I said, yes, Nancy Pelosi did wait to swear in their representative at her request. That's why it was 21 days. So Speaker Mike Johnson, outside of being full of shit, can't keep his facts straight. Shout out to that journalist. Because, again, to all journalists that are worth their salt, This is what needs to happen. Fact check them in real time and cut them off. Hold them accountable. The things we have been saying on this podcast going on a number of years now. Hold them accountable. Do not let them spin it. Hold their feet to the fire because, again, we elect them to represent our views, our voice. If they're not doing that, then get somebody else who can. But shout out to that guy because I like the fact he did not let up. No. Go at their effing throats when it comes to fact checking. And we'll never be mad at you. Never will be mad at you. However, there are going to be a lot of people mad at Taco outside of bailing out Argentina, giving them $20 billion to bail them out of a situation. He is also now intending to buy beef from Argentina to lower prices at grocery stores. Which, again, the American cattle industry is not too happy with Taco right now because the simple fact of the matter is he wants to push down U.S. beef prices by increasing the overall supply. What does that mean? That means he is going to buy from Argentina, which means because if you haven't noticed, his grocery bills that he sat there and said, we're going to come down. Yeah, everything has freaking increased. And now him buying beef from Argentina outside of giving him $20 billion, I just wonder for people of the red hat and GOP variety, are you pissed off yet? Because $20 billion of your dollars just went to another country. Also, more money is going to go to buying their beef to lower prices, supposedly at the supermarket. All I got to stand and say is this feels like the first term all over again. Farmers getting bailed out while the American people still get screwed over. It just feels like 2016 all over again, doesn't it? But again, I digress. But also, guys, moving into other stories before we got to get to the end here. It is amazing how never sober, always drunk, Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth talked about we need to get back to a warrior ethos, especially introducing military fitness standards, the President Fitness Test, right? Well, it seems some Texas National Guard folks aren't making the cut.
Some members of the Texas National Guard who were deployed to Illinois are back home in Texas.
And not because of that court order, but rather they were removed and replaced because they did not meet certain standards.
Yeah, last week, photos showed some troops arriving in Illinois, and people online did not hold back commenting about the troops' appearance and fitness. Texas Governor Greg Abbott sent about 200 Guard members to Illinois to help secure federal facilities as ICE agents ramp up immigration enforcement. The troops are still under federal control in Chicago, but they can't be deployed while legal challenges play out in court.
KVU's Daniel Perot joining us now in studio with more on the troops who were sent home and what the National Guard members are doing in Illinois. Daniel.
Ashley and Mark, the Texas Military Department will not tell us exactly what standards those soldiers who were sent home did not meet, but military outlet Task and Purpose reports that the Guard members were removed for not meeting fitness or uniform weight standards. After the controversy of the last week, one military expert that I spoke to says he's not surprised. Viral photos showing Texas National Guard troops arriving in the Chicago area.
The height and weight standards and the physical fitness requirements are well known, well published. Everybody's aware of them.
During the pre-mission validation process, which is common in the military, the Texas Military Department says the National Guard identified and replaced 7 of the 200 deployed Texas Guard members who didn't meet the mission requirements. Retired Major General Bo Young says soldiers and airmen are required to meet service-specific height, weight, and physical fitness standards at all times.
The standards are there for a good reason, to make sure that people can deploy, that they'll be in the proper physical condition when they get there, and they're able to withstand some pretty punishing environments.
Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth praising the move, writing on social media, standards are back at the Department of War, echoing comments he made on fitness to top military leaders last month.
It's tiring to look out at combat formations, or really any formation, and see fat troops.
Young says being overweight is not an immediate disqualifier.
You can actually deploy and be overweight, provided you're on the Army's overweight program and you're making progress.
The troops are not currently conducting operational activities. A judge has ruled they can stay in Illinois, but can't be deployed to protect federal buildings and personnel, Instead, a spokesperson for U.S. Northern Command says they're planning and training at their base, an Army Reserve station southwest of Chicago.
It's really up to the first line leaders then to make the best use of that time. If I was in charge of that, we would be looking at different options for how we would deploy throughout Chicago.
Military leaders not providing any other details or saying if the troops will stay in Chicago as the legal challenges play out. Questions continuing to swirl as the deployment enters week 2.
It's crazy, isn't it? That apparently the Gravy SEALs cannot deploy. At the same time, for all those that don't know, because that's just the National Guard. Also, ICE is held to that same standard. For all those that don't know, in order to actually do that, the fitness test, for all those that don't know, recruits must pass, and again, this is just the fitness test that always drunk Pete Hegseth swears by. They must be able to do 15 push-ups and 32 sit-ups and run 1.5 miles in 14 minutes. Yeah, recruits must do 15 push-ups, 32 sit-ups, run 1.5 miles in 14 minutes. This also is by National Guard standards. But it is amazing to me, guys, that so many of those guys, because we've seen those guys in ICE, some of them are way out of many of them are definitely overweight, out of shape. I guarantee if someone was planning to run, we'd find out very quickly who can run and who can't. I would almost bet money. At the same time, it's laughable because how is Pete Hegseth? I will put it this way to Mr. Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth. If you could stay sober, I know it's going to be hard for him because I swear it's like every time he pops up, every time he raises his hand, a drink magically appears. Like, If he can stay sober, the troops can stay underweight. The fact that he can't screams volumes. It really does. Also, for all those that don't know, he also put in new things in the Pentagon, where if you guys didn't notice last week, a lot of news agencies have actually left the Pentagon because you have officers that report on there. He tried to get them all to sign a pledge saying that pretty much you're going to be loyal to the taco regime, which means that you're not going to do anything. You're not going to say anything detrimental, negative, or things of that nature. Pretty much, you will become state news. Even more so, that as those news offices outside of Fox News, which I think was the only one, Fox News, OAN, and I think another one that stayed, everybody else, right? So here's the new thing that just came out. Now Pete Hegseth is saying that, hey, there's a new memo that's going around the Pentagon that until you have approval, you cannot speak on such matters at the Pentagon. You must have go-ahead approval first. This is coming from the guy who not once but twice got caught leaking secret military plans on signal chats. And you're going to have the unmitigated gall to turn around and sit there and say, hey, you have to seek approval before you can communicate with anybody else outside the Pentagon. That also includes Pentagon personnel. Boy, oh boy, it just goes to show you the level of crazy that is already there, and even more so that they're continuing to still do so. And yet, at the same time, not one person is sitting there saying on the other side, and I'm not expecting Democrats to jump on all things, but if I was the Democrat, I'd be like, so we're going to worry about the fact that they've just decided to go persona non grata at the Pentagon, that you can't talk to anybody unless you have Daddy Hegseth's permission. They've now become the state news that we fear. It's almost as if Nazis are running the place. Just saying. That also being said, guys, again, I know I can't believe we actually have to say this, but we do. It hurts my heart as I got to say this. Tylenol maker is urging FDA to reject requests for an autism warning. Just a couple weeks ago, we covered the story that RFK tried to say that the use of Tylenol in pregnant women leads to autism. Yes, RFK said that. Brain leaching, amoeba-driven, a guy that likes to pick up dead carcasses and take them home, who always sounds like one good cough will take care of that voice issue, was the same guy on a press conference that sat there and said, well, Tylenol is the leading cause, is a cause in pregnant women for autism. And everybody in the medical field went, no, it's not. It's really not. You're a deaf idiot. How did you become Secretary of Health and Human Services? How? So again, Kenvue, which is the maker of Tylenol, is basically saying that hopefully the FDA does do that. I am hoping the FDA does not take RFK seriously. There is not, again, and we'll stress this very heavily, there is not any record, and there were studies done out there, that Tylenol is safe for pregnant women to take. And again, if you don't believe that, please, if you're pregnant, please check with your OBGYN or check with your preferred provider. Please check. Please don't listen to a guy that does nothing more than puts on his tinfoil hat and spouts anti-vaxxers and conspiracy theories. Please go to the people that actually went to school, trained, and actually did their residencies for this. Not a guy who sounds like he couldn't say the ABCs without coughing first. That's all I'm saying. But we got to also talk about this too, because Ice Barbie again is in hot water because this is the dangerous things about AI. But I'm going to let Joy Reid tell it.
The Department of Homeland Security, Kristi Noem's outfit, is now weaponizing social media against the American people and putting Americans' lives at risk. The Department of Homeland Security ex-Twitter account posted this video purporting to show a group of young black men threatening ICE agents, saying there's a $50,000 bounty on your heads, and we're coming for you. And then they make a threat back and say that if you threaten ICE agents, we're coming to get you. Well, turns out the video is an AI fake. An astute user on ex-Twitter noticed that the Homeland Security video, which is a TikTok video, they've actually changed the caption on the video. The original TikTok video has a completely different caption that's not about ICE at all. It's about Iran. They even changed the music. That's how you know it was re-edited, because the musical track on the clip is different. The caption is completely different. And they've essentially used this young man's video in order to create a fake appearance, a fake threat against ICE from young black men. So they've weaponized anti-blackness. They've weaponized a lie that these federal agents are being threatened and that there's a bounty on their heads, which they've apparently made up. And they're using anti-blackness in order to create this fake sense of threat. That is your government using your resources, your tax dollars, in order to weaponize American social media to get those Americans death threats, because that's what's happening to this young man. Here's a little bit of his video in which he talks about the fact that since this video has gone viral, he's now getting death threats. Take a listen.
I get threats daily on IG and everywhere all over my social media all of a sudden due to an old video I posted months ago about Iran. Iran, that was not to be a threat. It was literally a joke, bro. Like, seriously, it's just content. Anyways, once I seen that video that was posted on my account, then I was like, what the fuck? Well, then I posted this like months ago. Then I seen the caption. And then I was like, wait, I didn't do that. I still got the video saved on my draft months ago on TikTok, bro. I'm gonna pull it up right here. Here's the fucked up part. The federal government is involved with something that I didn't do.
So this is insane. First of all, that young man should sue, paging Ben Crump, or any lawyers that want to try to represent him. He should absolutely sue. But secondly, the fact that your government is actually creating this false sense of threat using your social media, that should ring alarms for you. And secondly, it is those federal agents, or whatever they are, that are masked, showing up in regular clothes, gang tackling people in the streets, not showing their faces, not showing warrants, busting into people's homes, grabbing people who have their children with them, going into school pickup lines. They're the ones who are presenting the threat. They're the ones who are terrorizing Americans, violating their Fourth and Fifth Amendment rights. They're the ones who are busting into people's homes. They're the ones who are presenting the threat. They've crashed into people's cars and then arrested the people in the cars that they hit. There's been a drunk driving incident. These people are out of control, and yet they want you to believe that the real threat is young black men who are threatening ICE agents, something they've invented by stealing this young man's content. If your government can steal your content in order to weaponize a falsity, a lie against Americans, in order to get Americans' lives, in order to get Americans, death threats, threatening their lives. That's your government doing that to you. What else could they do using your social media in order to create fictions and lies that they could use against the American people? Wake up. This government is dangerous. This regime is incredibly, incredibly dangerous and malevolent, and they are weaponizing your government against you. Hopefully that young man is safe. We're looking to interview him on the Joy Reid Show. I will keep you posted on whether we're able to get in touch with him. But young man, stay safe, young brother, because this is what the government is now. He had no idea this was even coming. He didn't ask for this, but here we are. Stay safe out there, everybody. Stay woke.
So, yeah. Now, the young man that you described, again, was making a video about, wanting to protest against Iran. Now, of course, Ice Barbie and the Department of Homeland Security, because, there's always a fun bunch of people, turn around again. This is the same Ice Barbie that sat there and said drug cartels, supposedly Mexican drug cartels, have turned around and put bounties on the heads of ICE agents, right? Whether they be captured or killed. But it's amazing to me when this was brought up that, again, for all those who don't know, let me just show this picture for a second. This picture right there, directly from Homeland Security, FAFO. If you threaten or lay hands on our law enforcement officers, we will hunt you down and you will find out really quick. We'll see you cowards soon. And it's the doctored video. And it's amazing to me that when called out on this, they said that, no, it's not doctored, which a whole bunch of people have already went forward and said, yes, you guys have altered the video. You altered the video to post it to basically fit your narrative. Even California Democratic Representative Eric Swalwell sat there and called Secretary Noam out. Christie, delete this tweet. You are the queen of photoshopping. So I do hope that young man does have protection because he will need it. But honestly, I hope that young man, gets legal counsel because, yes, I would sue because at this point, it needs to happen. It needs to happen because, again, this regime with Taco and everybody else just running roughshod, there's zero accountability. At the same time, you're going to get that young man hurt. But I hope that young brother stays safe. I hope he gets protection. I hope he gets legal counsel and sues the pants off DHS and ICE because again, him getting death threats, and he's a kid. He's a black man. He's a young black man who's getting death threats because DHS looked at it as an opportunity to sit there and say, oh, let's beef up how tough we are because we're going to sit there and say we're going to go after them. Right. I hope he gets money and then some. But the last story I got, guys, before we get to our feel-good segment, again, this is going to be a little touchy for all those in the who go to church and who do religious things. We usually don't talk about religion that much on this show, guys, but at the same time, we got to talk about this because, here's the one thing about churches I'll never understand as far as giving and things of that nature. But, if you give, cool, that's on you. Not judging you because some people do believe in giving and passing on blessings. If that's what you believe, that's fine. It's the problem I have with certain churches and preachers. Enter Bishop Marvin Winans Sr. And if you have seen it, you know where I'm getting at.
In faith and stand in unity with the vision of perfecting church of sowing this seed of $1,000 plus $235 and receiving the blessings to come to all that participated.
Now that's only $1,200.
Yes.
Y'all not listening to what I'm saying. If you have 1,000 plus 1,000.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna work on the other 800.
Well, that ain't what I asked you to do. Because we got in a habit of giving $3, $2 to when we first started. This is the truth. When we first started, I would work in the back counting. And I came out of church one Sunday. I said, "Well, the bank don't have no dollar bills because all the saints got all of them." No, that's what I said. The bank don't have no dollar bills. The saints got them. And today, I was moved because I recognize that some of us never thought that we would stand up and give with glee and joy as if it was $1 and it'd be $1,000. Now I need somebody to get up and give God praise because he brought you from a mighty Hallelujah. I'm going to ask those that are here today that are prepared to give their sacrificial seed of giving of $1,000 plus one. If you're here, join me in the center aisle now. Let's give God praise as they come.
Hey, Roberta McCoy, giving faith and stand in unity with the vision of perfecting church of sowing this seed of $1,000 plus $235 and receiving the blessings to come to all that participated.
Now that's only $1,200.
Yes.
Y'all not listening to what I'm saying. If you have 1,000 plus 1,000.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna work on the other 800.
Well, that ain't what I asked you to do. Thank you. All right. Yeah. All right, this is how it's going to go. I, Pastor Marvin Winans, give in faith and stand in unity with the vision of perfecting church of sowing this seed of $1,000 plus $7,500 because I used my day of giving. I used my app. Hold on, it's disappearing from me. Hold on. So, hold on. That's wrong. What did I just do? Okay.
Thank you, Jesus. Thank you.
That's it right there. Okay. And now I hit that. Okay. Yes. This is amazing because, folk, listen, it's not too late. Hand me that other sheet of paper. Just give me all of those. I'm really slowing this down so that everyone will get it.
Thank you, Jesus. Hallelujah. Thank you.
There we go. Those that gave, I received just an hour ago a $1,000 contribution from Richard Andrews, $500 from Doreen Norris. Benjamin Winans contributed $1,000 to my thing. Linda Stewart, my cousin, $1,000. Bishop Nathan Wells of Texas, $1,000. Lady that showed up for 6 a.m. prayer, Shalita M. Shaw, $1,000. I'll call him this afternoon because he's coming. Bishop Darrell Hines, $1,000. Pastor Tommy Bates, $1,000. Pastor Tim Delina, $1,000. Bishop George and Mary Seawright, $1,000. You see how that happened? So I give, sowing this seed of $1,000 plus what I just read, and I give a seed of $10,000. That's my seed. I'm sowing a seed of $10,000 plus all that I read, which is over $20-some thousand, and receive the blessings to come to all that participated. Give God praise. All right. Then you'll take your offering if you still have it. I know some of you have already given, and you can give it to me and we'll put it in here. All right. Show us how it's done, Sister Winans.
I, Deneen Winans,
give in faith and stand in unity with the vision of Perfecting Church of sowing this seed of $1,170 and my fundraiser of $830.
Amen.
And receiving the blessing to come to all that's anticipated or all that participated.
Amen.
Amen.
That's it. Because we got in a habit of giving $3, $2 to when we first started. This is the truth. When we first started, I would work in the back counting. And I came out of church one Sunday. I said, well, the bank don't have no dollar bills because all the saints got all of them. No, that's what I said. The bank don't have no dollar bills. The saints got them. And today, I was moved.
So let's just stop it right there, just because again, okay, so, woo, all right, let's do this. For all those that might have been slightly triggered, I apologize profusely. I should give a trigger warning first before I started. That being said, look, people give, okay? I was raised Church of Christ, elders kid. I see it all, heard it all, no different, right? If you go for spiritual substance, sustaining, to get that spiritual nourishment, if you do get that on Sundays, bravo for you. I do believe everybody, if you do believe, you have your own ways, you have your own paths. Every path with whatever you believe in, whoever you believe in, is completely and utterly different. I am not one to knock such things. That being said, what I will say is I hate churches like that. I do. I hate the emphasis of money. I hate the emphasis of we need $2,000 donations. I get the Marvin Winans all over again. Close the doors. Close the doors. Ushers, close the doors. Not until bitch better have my money. That's what I get from that. I get from this whole thing of, well, we need $2,000 in donations, folks, for them blessings. You give us $2,000 to the church and you shall be blessed upon measure. God will bless you if you only if you give everything that you have, because give it up to God. That's what they do. Emotional manipulation. Now, again, I am not knocking folks that give because, whether or not you believe in the Bible, it does say to give. But I also believe that, hey, don't burn your own house down giving to something just because they say so. If you can give, cool. If you can't, that's also cool. Because, again, from my understanding of the Bible, all 42 years on this earth, is the fact that the church is there for the people. It's made of people. It's a building made without hands. It is there to sustain the neighborhood, to help out, to be a servant, to be serving the community. However, every time I see preachers, and again, this just might be my bias. A preacher is in a nice suit, drives a nice car. The preacher's wife, first lady, is always in nice outfits, jewels and pearls and whatnot, and also drives a nice car. The congregation looks like they drive Pintos and cars that have been held together by faith and spit. The building fund has been going on for 30 or 40 years, and yet you only see a fresh coat of paint every 5. Everything else still the same. The water fountain has seen the civil rights movement and the Civil War in the same period. The thing I'm getting at here, guys, is I cannot stand above all else when I see a preacher saying that we need to donate $1,000, $2,000. If your congregation, because again, Marvin Winans ain't the only one. Oh, they're all out there. Joel Osteen, Creflo Dollar, which again, I never understood a man whose last name was Dollar is not a preacher, and yet somehow that's not a red flag. Kenneth Copeland, the guy that looks like he's slowly turning into a demon because that white privilege is expiring by the day. And I can keep going down the list of all these so-called celebrity preachers. And what kills me out of all this is people giving $1,000, $2,000, even more to the church. Now, if you got money like that, I'm not knocking you. But what also bothered me was that a woman came down and said, here's $1,200. Here's $1,200, Pastor, for my belief in the church, and here's my offering. That ain't $2,000. Well, I know it's not $2,000, but I'll get you the other $800. I'll work on that. Well, that's not what I said, honey. No matter how you call it, you basically took somebody's donation and you basically waved it off. But I guarantee, but he still took that check though, didn't he? He still took that $1,200. I'm gonna tell you like this: let it be me. Let me tell you how petty I am. If I ever offered in a church, and I will say this, October 22nd, 2025, on a Wednesday. So for posterity, for anybody that goes back and says I didn't say this, I will stand 10 toes down when I say this. Let me give to a church and they turn around and say my offering's not enough. If that collection plate is near me, you'll be lucky to get back a penny. Oh, I'm that petty. Oh, Will, you will steal from the church. They already steal from folks. Churches and casinos, what's the difference? The thing I'm getting at here is, folks, is that for a man of God, you are supposed to be accepting of all donations because there's a certain story. If memory serves you right, in there a certain story in the New Testament where everybody was given, but the woman only gave what she had, which was basically the equivalent of 2 pennies. And yet Jesus turned around and told everybody she has given more than everybody here because she believed. Jesus didn't turn around her donation. She said she donated the most. And yet you have a celebrity preacher in an $800 suit talking about that ain't $2,000, but wants to show off, say, I'm going to go first and I'm just going to donate $7,500 to the church. You mean you're going to donate $7,500 to yourself, right? Because churches are tax exempt. And don't get me wrong about churches. I am really not knocking all churches. There are a great many churches out there that are not of this spectacle, that actually do work in the community, that actually help out their fellow churchgoers, and they actually do great work. There are many churches out there like that. They don't get the same exposure as these mega churches and senior and celebrity pastors get. That's what I'm saying. But for these celebrity pastors, the ones that are asking for these big ass donations, the ones that are out here talking about if you give, you shall be blessing upon you because they believe in the seed gospel. I don't. I think it's basically just BS. The one thing that would have made that video go into the wayside of everything else, if he just accepted it and said, God bless you, we would have never saw the light of day in that video. But because he sat there and said, that's not what I said to do, is the only reason we're talking about it. Because how in a house of worship are you going to question a donation that was given to you? Because I know what I could do with $1,200. I know 5 things off the bat I could do with $1,200. But because it's not the $2,000 that this greedy sumbitch wanted, and yes, I am calling him a greedy sumbitch, because it wasn't what he wanted, he sat there and decided to dress her down in front of the congregation. And like I said, let that happen to me. That'll be the first and last time I will be in that church, and the first and last time that collection plate will not have 2 sets of eyes on it. And I mean that with everything in me. So again, to Marvin Wine Sr., you are a piece of shit for basically downplaying a woman's donation to the church, even though there's news articles out there that says that, he didn't rebuke me, I just didn't follow instructions. She's protecting her pastor, like a lot of traumatized Black people do when it comes to the fact that they're not ready to let go of their religion. But hey, that's another conversation for another podcast. So we're going to leave it at that. We are going to move on to our Feel Good segment because usually how the Frack We Got Here, we do cover a lot of things that are doom and gloom, sometimes make you use faith in humanity. But hey, it's Wednesday, tomorrow's Thursday. We want to leave you guys out with some good notes and some good vibrations, and hopefully the next story will do just that. Although I would say the timing of this man's proposal could have waited because, sir, your fiance just gave birth.
Okay, I'm bringing him over to you, okay?
Oh my God, yes.
This way, please. Excuse me. This way.
Well, congratulations to the happy couple on two things. For one, a very happy and healthy baby, and also congratulations on being engaged. Mazel tov. Although, from my understanding, if you're going to make sure a woman is going to get proposed to, please make sure her nails and things are done. I learned that from experience. So, again, congratulations to the happy couple and new parents, and may you enjoy both two celebrations. That being said, guys, that's going to do it for this podcast. I do thank you all for liking, for watching, for letting people know this is live. I certainly appreciate that. Some shameless plugging before we do get out of here, guys. I do want to shout out to APR TV. Why? Because How the Frack can be seen on APR TV. You can catch them on the Roku channel store or the Amazon Fire TV app, along with other shows that we do have there, but definitely check them out. You will not be disappointed. Also, blurrstation.com, guys. I keep talking about this site for 2 years now, only because it's content developed for us, watched by for us, and should be supported by us. They have television shows, manga, anime, you name it. We actually just finished a live stream called the Unmuted podcast. I'm sorry, panel, I should say, to where we are now talking about voice acting and how to get into it. It is available on the Blur Station app, guys, so please feel free to definitely watch it there. It is $10.99 a month to stream on Blur Station. Again, $10.99 a month, and Blur Station can stream on all smart devices. Definitely check that out when you get a chance. Also, runforoffice.org. You've heard me talk about multiple sites like this because, again, guys, the midterms are coming, and right now we need more people ever. If you do feel the call to serve, whether it's a national or local office, runforoffice.org can definitely help you with that. It can actually help you how to get on the ballot, hopefully be able to run and win, because, again, guys, with the midterms coming next year, we need all hands on deck. Republicans are doing their best to ensure that they have the last of this current tacos term. Would it be great if Democrats actually did have overwhelming support in the House and the Senate? They could make the last couple of years a little bit more breathable under Taco's regime. Just saying. Also, How the Frack We Got Here can be found on YouTube. If you literally type How the Frack We Got Here podcast, our page does show up, guys. Please like, share, subscribe, hit the notification button so you'll be notified anytime we do upload shows. Shows are usually uploaded Wednesday night and replayed. They're replayed on Saturday mornings, so you definitely check out what you missed. But definitely go to How the Frack We Got Here on YouTube, like, share, and subscribe. How the Frack We Got Here is also on Instagram, also on TikTok. And again, guys, you don't want to miss anything we do. Also, my other show, the Get Bit Podcast, can also be found. It is a video game podcast. So if you're into video games, comics, manga, anime, myself, my other co-host, Showa Guy Joe and Tafari TV can also be found there. Definitely like, share, and subscribe as well. Hit that notification button for YouTube. We usually go live every Friday in the 8:30 p.m. Central Time. Trust me, you won't miss it because we do have fun there. Also, at the same time, guys, if you are on Spotify, How the Frack We Got Here can be found on Spotify. How the Frack We Got Here can be found on Apple and on Google. Pretty much everywhere you get your podcast from, you can definitely get it there in audio format. Definitely check out How the Frack We Got Here on Spotify and anywhere else that you may get your audio podcast from. As for myself, guys, Black_Spartan615 is my personal IG page. You can like and follow me there. I usually talk to everybody. Just don't make it weird. I do not want to get into the habit of blocking people. Again, let's keep it civil, but let's keep it honest. Let's keep it progressive. That being said, guys, I cannot stress this enough. Please, oh please, protect your peace. Don't doom scroll. Go outside, enjoy. Weather's changing. If you like me, you're happy fall's coming along because summer is brutal on guys with, hair. At the same time, guys, check on your people, call or text, but just enjoy life. Right now, I know every time we turn around, Taco and his regime is doing something else. But guys, we must keep our strength. We must keep our sanity. We must keep our peace. We will need that for the fight come midterms next year. I'm just saying. At the same time, guys, I will say the last thing about How the Frack We Got Here. It's all about staying informed. We are not trying to reinvent the wheel, folks. We are simply giving you all the information allowed to make up your own mind, but we do provide a logical perspective that helps along the way. We do better in society once we're progressive. We move forward. We right the wrongs from our past by making decisions now that we should have done back then, like electing our first black woman Supreme Court, electing our first black woman as the Federal Reserve Governor, and maybe one day electing our first black woman to be called Madam President. All great things. We don't learn from history, we are doomed to repeat them. That's what we keep asking ourselves. Why does everything go but our paycheck? Why are we electing different politicians with the same old game in Congress? And most importantly, how the fact we got here. Thank you all for watching, guys. Please take care of yourselves and each other, and I promise we will get through this. Live long and prosper, guys. Have a good one. And again, stay safe, stay strong. Good luck, and good night. Peace.